Welcome to Lesson 2 in Unit 4, River Rescue. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, what types of things are in the water? In this lesson, students will continue to research the problem. They use hands-on investigations to make observations and sort types of garbage based on observable properties. Students figure out that there is a variety of garbage in the river and that the garbage can be categorized and sorted based on its properties. Students make connections to the storyline by continuing to research the problem they are trying to solve. They use observable properties to describe the types of garbage in the Mississippi River. There are several opportunities for ELA, math, and social studies cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 4 teacher guide. This lesson will take approximately 3 to 4 days to complete. You will begin this lesson by revisiting what students learned in Lesson 1. Remind students that they learned about litter and that humans are the main cause of the litter we see outside. Today, they will continue to explore litter. Next, you will project an image of the polluted part of the Mississippi River from the Section 1 slides. You will facilitate a class discussion about the garbage in the photo, the items students notice, and you will probe students to think about what they use to make these observations. During your discussion, take the opportunity to post the observation vocab card. You will continue the discussion and explain to students that scientists use observations to learn about the world around them. When they observe, they use their senses to notice different properties of objects. This is a good time to post the properties vocabulary card. You will continue to display the photo of the polluted part of the Mississippi River and ask students what else they notice about the garbage in the photo. Students will then work in groups to come up with all of the things they observe in the water. You will make a class chart listing the items they identify. You will come back to this chart in the Evaluate. Teaching tip. Students will come back to the chart throughout the unit. In the lesson to evaluate, they will sort these items based on their observable properties. Then you will revisit the driving question board. You will add any new questions and highlight questions connected to the learning goals of today's lesson by calling attention to questions about what is in the water and what kinds of garbage are in the water. If no questions directly relate, use prompts to build on student questions, supporting them to make observations at the different colors, sizes, and shapes of garbage in the water. In the Explore portion of this lesson, you will set up the Sorting by Properties investigation by putting students into groups of 3 or 4 and preparing enough materials for each group. Each group should have the garbage items and 1 pack of smelly stickers. You can pause the screen to view the materials that you and your students will need. The detailed procedure for this activity can be found in the Lesson 2 teacher guide. To support this investigation, you will display the Observing Properties slide. Students will not be using their sense of taste for the objects, unless you have added optional jelly beans to the bin. During the investigation, have students use their Observing Properties student journal page to help them describe what they are observing using their 5 senses. Students will conduct the investigation and share their observations aloud in their teams. Students are not expected to write their observations. Students will make observations with 4 of their 5 senses, or all 5 if you chose to include jelly beans for taste. They will use their eyes to observe color, shape, and size. They will use their nose to observe the smells of items. The smelly stickers will have a different smell. They will use their ears to observe sound. The bell will ring. The balls make a different noise when bounced. They will use their hands to make observations about how the items feel. Each item will feel slightly different. Based on their observations, students will group items together in similar groups. For example, round objects, or white objects. In the explain portion of this lesson, you will invite students to gather in a circle to share their findings from their sorting investigations. Use the questions below to guide your discussion around the question, what types of things are in the water? This section poses an opportunity to attend to equity. The items categories will be based on different properties and student experiences. Support students to think about each other's experiences as they are sharing their explanations. The goal of this class discussion is to use the observable properties to explain how students sorted their objects and connect this practice to sort the objects in the Mississippi River. You can display the observing properties slide to help students connect their senses with the different observations they made. By the end of this discussion, students should understand that the garbage in the Mississippi River can be sorted into groups based on its observable properties. You can design ways to remove garbage based on the size and shape. In the elaborate portion of this lesson, you will project the polluted part of the Mississippi River. You will review the chart made in the engage portion of this lesson with the list of items students noticed in this image. You will ask students what different properties they notice about the garbage and for some categories they could sort the garbage into based on their properties, such as color, size, and shape. Have the class select one property to organize by, for example, size, color, shape, weight, or texture. As a class, sort the items in the Mississippi River into different categories. This section poses an opportunity to attend to equity. Create slides using the items listed for students to make observations, or, if possible, you can bring in similar items for students to make hands-on observations. In the evaluate portion of this lesson, students will use the Make an Observation student journal page to complete the quick check. This is an opportunity for students to demonstrate their understanding of an object and how it can be described and identified based on its observable properties. See the assessment tracker for guidance on this formative assessment. To support student sense making across the unit, orient students back to the driving question board. Ask students, what did we learn about what types of things are in the water? What new questions do you have? It can be helpful to re-show the pictures of the garbage in the river from the Engage to help students think of questions. Students will probably wonder why the garbage is on top of the water. This is the topic of the next lesson. In the optional extend portion of this lesson, you will have students each pick one item from the classroom or their desk. Then, have students find another student in the class who picked the same or a similar item. Once students are in partners or small groups with others who have the same or a similar item, have students use their Observing Properties student journal page to take turns sharing about what they used to make their observations and why they grouped together. They should explain the properties they used to decide each category. Teaching tip. This activity can be used as an optional additional assessment for the standard KPS1A1. By the end of this lesson, students will have made observations to describe and identify objects by their observable properties, made observations to describe the types of garbage in the Mississippi River, and in Lesson 3, students will continue investigating the garbage in the water to compare why some litter sinks and some floats. For more information about this unit, visit mysitepartners.com.